Mindset. I'm Erin Hart, and today we are going to be talking about creating a course correction plan for your sugar and flour free lifestyle. Now, if you're new to this channel, I am Erin Hart. I'm a registered nurse health coach, and I empower women to get off of the dieting roller coaster and to lose weight for the last time so that you can find peace with your food, freedom from cravings, and the confidence to chase your dreams and to fulfill your true life's purpose instead of worrying about your weight and struggling with your relationship with food. There really is hope if you are someone who struggles with being obese or overweight, if you feel out of control around your food, if you feel powerless against cravings. I absolutely understand and have been there myself. I experienced food addiction myself, and back in 2020 I was 284 pounds. But with this healthy real food lifestyle, I was able to lose 125 pounds and keep it off, and that's why I'm here, is to just spread this message of hope with the world, because it has absolutely changed my life and I want everyone to know about it. So today, one thing that I think holds a lot of people back from starting a sugar and flour-free lifestyle is the fear of failure. The fear of failure, the fear of regaining your weight, perfectionism, and the all or nothing mentality. Can you relate to this? I know when I started my sugar and flour-free lifestyle back in 2020, I had all of those emotions, all of those feelings, because I had lived a life of dieting my whole life and I was never successful on anything that I had tried. You know, calorie counting, exercising, Weight Watchers, Noom, Body for Life. Like, I had tried so many different things and found that I could stick to them for a while, but then something would happen and I would make a mistake or I'd go off plan, and then I would just fall into that what the hell effect, or I'd get discouraged and I would give up, or I'd just go back to my old ways of eating and gain all the weight back and even more. And it was just this vicious cycle. So I totally understand the struggle. And if you're there, I just want you to know that there is hope, that does not have to be the way that it is. It doesn't have to stay that way forever. So what we can do is have a course correction plan. And when I started the sugar and flour free lifestyle, I just I eased into it for a couple of weeks and just kind of gradually started eating less sugar and flour. And then I just jumped all in with the program, and I just kind of set my day one, and I created a line in the sand that I just wasn't going to cross when it comes to those food boundaries of sugar and flour and weighing and measuring my food. And I had incredible success with that. Like I said, I lost 125 pounds, and in the beginning it felt hard. But after a couple of weeks, after I got through the detox period, after I started to automate my habits, then it started to feel easy, and I could lose weight and have it feel easy and effortless, and it was just a miracle in my life. So there is hope. If it were easy, everyone would do it, but taking your life to the next level usually isn't easy, right? That's why having an extraordinary life is extraordinary, right? Because you have to do things that most people aren't willing to do to achieve that level of success and joy and peace. And but anyone can do it. Anyone. I'm not special. My clients, they are special to me, right? But they're not different than you are. We are all human. We all make mistakes, and it's not about being perfect. It's just about being unstoppable. So if you struggle with the fear of failure, fear of regaining your weight, perfectionism, all or nothing mentality, this video is for you. And I want to really help you to understand how to create a sustainable lifestyle, even as a human imperfect woman, right? Because that's what we all are. And perfection really is not a healthy standard for human beings in general, or anyone who's recovering from an addiction, like those of us who experience food addiction or compulsive overeating, right? Perfection is not a healthy standard. And so food addiction, it's the hardest addiction to beat because it is a substance addiction. Sugar and flour have been shown to be highly addictive, and the pull of our brain, the pull that it has on that reward center of our brain, it truly is a substance addiction. And there's a lot of research about this now, which for me, understanding that was so life-changing. Just understanding there's not anything wrong with me, right? It's not that I'm weak or morally not, it's just that there wasn't anything actually wrong with me as a person. I have a brain that is susceptible to food addiction. And once you understand the science of food addiction, it kind of takes the shame and guilt out of it, because you can just understand that it's nothing wrong with you. Your brain is reacting to those substances that you're ingesting. So food addiction is hard though, because it's a substance addiction, but it's also a process addiction. And a lot of people, just like with gambling or pornography, right? It's not a substance addiction. Those are process addictions, and food addiction can be a process addiction as well, because we get in habits. We get in the habit of eating at night, or eating when we're sad, or when we're bored. And so it is also a process addiction. And unfortunately, because we are human, relapse is part of recovery for most people. I know very few people who have been on plan 100% since they started, and it's been years and years. And for those people, I feel so happy for them. And I do think that 100% is so much easier than 98% mentally, right? It is so much easier. It's not better. You're not bad for going off plan, or, we're not good or bad because of the food that we eat. Food is amoral. And so we have to kind of take the shame and guilt out of it. But for those who do stay on plan 100%, I'm telling you, it is so much easier than having one foot in and one foot out. Being, 98% is a beast, 100% is a breeze. Once you get past that detox phase. So for those of us who are not on plan all the time, or have struggled at times, or slipped, or, which I would say is 99.9% of all of us, it's important for us to recognize that we'll just take the shame and guilt out of it, that it's okay, and not make it a huge deal in your mind. Success is not a one-time event, it's a process. And so we have to kind of approach our long-term goal of sustainable weight loss with that growth mindset. Just knowing that we are learning and growing, and we're not going to be good at it at first. We're going to struggle at times. We're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. But we just have to keep trying and keep going, and never give up. Having that mindset of unstoppability and that compassion for ourselves when we do slip and make mistakes. So when I started this lifestyle, I kind of approached it with some fear, because I was scared that if I went off plan one time, I was just going to spiral out of control like I had every other time with every other diet, and regain all the weight that I'd lost and more. But so what I did before I even ever started to struggle, before I even ever went off plan, I just was starting my program, I decided that that's not how it's going to be this time. And I made a course correction plan. And what that looked like for me was that I wrote down a plan in my journal, and I wrote down the exact steps that I was going to take if I was tempted to go off plan. And then I wrote down the exact steps I would take when I do go off plan. And so having that in my mind, it just kind of helped me to feel like, okay, like if I ever do struggle in the future, which at this time I felt super strong, I felt like I was never going to struggle again, right? Because you're past the detox period, you're free from cravings, you feel like you're in control, kind of in that sweet spot, and it's a beautiful place to be, and you can always be there. But it's when we start to make exceptions and excuses, and when we start to think that we're moderate eaters again, that we can lose that peace, that we can start to spiral out of control and go back to our old behaviors and coping mechanisms. So having that plan in place before I even ever started to struggle, it just gave me some hope and some peace that even if I wasn't perfect this time, which I really struggled with that all or nothing mentality before this lifestyle, I just knew that I had a clear path to success, to get right back on track. And the key that I have found is that it's all about quick and immediate course correction, not waiting until Monday, not waiting until some future date, not waiting till the new year. No, it's about very, very quick course correction. So to create a plan for yourself when you're tempted to go off of your plan, I want you to think of 4 things. So when you're developing this plan, so when you're tempted to go off plan. So your course correction plan should create distance between you and the trigger. And so that can be physically, and it should be physically going to another room, getting away from the trigger if there's not my food on the counter, or at a party, or in the office at work, if on the break room table, find a different place to eat. Just remove yourself from the trigger physically, create some distance there. A lot of people say that going outside really helps, just kind of helps you to get out of that fight or flight response, because when a lot of times when we see that triggering food, our food addiction kicks in, and then it feels like, oh, I have to have that, or oh, I just can't not have it, right? And so creating distance, go outside, go in a different room. And then you really need to immediately text someone. So having a support person is so essential for success in the weight loss phase. If you don't have a buddy, make sure you get a buddy. If you don't have a coach and you're struggling, make sure that you get a coach. So what that looks like for me is that right when I notice that I have thoughts to eat off of my plan, which sometimes I still do, right? And sometimes I still struggle. I'm right here on this journey with you. I have my own coach and my own support system. And so what I do is I just immediately text them like, oh my goodness, I have an urge to binge right now, or I am in this situation and I have thoughts of eating off my plan, and I just text my support person immediately, right when I notice the thought. So they say that there's a study that was done recently that said that if you have an accountability buddy, you're 65% more likely to achieve your goal. If you check in with your accountability buddy every day, you are 95% more likely to achieve your goal. So, I mean, having that connection is so key when you're trying to change your habits and behaviors around food. So find an accountability buddy, someone who's empathetic and non-judgmental, and when you have an urge to eat off of your plan, just immediately let them know about the thought. Just don't wait until you do it. Let them know before you eat off plan. Even if you continue to eat off plan, you need this touch point, because we're learning. Really, that connection piece can kind of stop the urge to eat off plan in its tracks sometimes. But it also just helps us to avoid the shame and the guilt that comes with going off plan. Like if you're having shame and guilt, a lot of times we want to do the opposite of connecting and just isolate, and we want to hide eating off plan. So this helps us to go against what we're naturally inclined to do and can help to break the cycle. So distance, connection, and then renewal. So you want in your course correction plan to have renewal, something to renew your nervous system or replenish your willpower. Because a lot of times in those moments when we are wanting to eat off plan, it's just because we are willpower depleted, or we're tired, or we see a trigger and we just have no willpower left. So in addition to distance and connection, we just want to do something quickly that can help us to replenish our willpower and get us out of the fight or flight mindset and back into our higher brain. And so some things that really help with that are prayer and meditation. So if you have faith in a higher power, saying a prayer and asking for help in that moment can help you to turn that urge around and not give into it. It really does give you some strength. But find or like meditation. Meditation is also so powerful. So just maybe having on your course correction plan, like doing 5 deep breaths, right? Just something to immediately kind of get you out of that lower caveman brain and back into your higher brain where you can make good decisions. But prayer and meditation are so powerful. And I had an experience with this last weekend. So I've gone back to work at the hospital, and it was a really long shift. And I have kind of a pathway in my brain because I used to work those 12, 13, 14-hour shifts and then just go home and binge every night before I started this lifestyle. So it's kind of like, it's been interesting that pathway is kind of still in my brain and so I've had these urges to eat off plan when I get home. But this last weekend, what I found, I just felt it was so overpowering. When I got home, the kids were still up. I still had to put all the kids to bed, and I was tired and exhausted from a long week of work. And the unit I work in can be really emotional and draining. And so I felt this urge to binge and just to feel better and to escape. But in the moment, it really felt so overpowering. I thought there's no way I can overcome this urge. And so I did. I went into the different room. I went and put my kids to bed. I texted my support person immediately, and I just dropped to my knees and I said a prayer asking for help. And I just said, I cannot do this on my own. This urge is more powerful than I am, and I need help. And it's gonna make me cry. But yeah, it just went away. Like the urge went away. And so we can gain so much strength from asking for help from our higher power. And so that is definitely part of my course correction plan when I have an urge to eat off plan. And then in addition to those things, so distance, connection, and renewal, you want to distract yourself because urges and cravings feel so overpowering in the moment, but they don't last. So if you can just wait it out, they will usually pass and fade and go away. So one thing you can do is set a timer on your watch for 20 minutes and just go do something else until the timer beeps. Your only job in the moment when you're having an overpowering craving or urge to eat off your plan is to not give into it. That is your only job for 20 minutes, to not give into it. And if you can do that, usually it will pass. And then, that moment has passed and you feel like you're in control again. So having a course correction plan to help you to avoid going off plan is really important. And I encourage you all to write it down in your journal, the exact steps that you are going to take to course correct when you have the urge to eat off of your plan. But if you do go off of your plan, I want you to just know that it's okay. You are human. You are still valued. You have worth no matter what you eat. And this is a learning process. So all is not lost, right? Just because you don't have to give in to the what the hell effect or anything like that. Just because one of your tires on your car is slashed, you don't have to slash all the other tires. So it just is important to have a lot of self-compassion. So if you do go off plan, just remember that quick course correction is really essential. And doing some self-reflection, and that's how we make our failures into our friend, by learning from our mistakes, and it can actually strengthen our program going forward to help us know what to avoid in the future. So know what those slippery slopes and triggers are so that we can avoid them in the future. So actually making mistakes is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It helps you to learn. And so does it mean that you'll never achieve your goal? No, right? If you don't course correct, then yes, that means you will never achieve your goal. But the reason that so many people fail at sustainable weight loss is because they don't understand the principle of course correction, of quick and immediate course correction. So now you know this and you're not going to fail. So because you know that you can just quickly and immediately get back on track before the spiral out of control happens. And so a lot of people just feel like so afraid of making mistakes, and I felt that way too. But having a course correction plan can help you to overcome that. So if you do go off of your plan, or when you do go off of your plan during the course of your life, right? This is a lifestyle. It's not a diet. And you're not going to be perfect at it, but it's all about progress and not perfection. So if and when you do go off of your plan, just remember the 3 C's of constant course correction. C. So compassionate curiosity. Having self-reflection after an event where you go off plan is so key to making that failure into a learning opportunity. So take time to journal after you go off plan and just ask yourself, I have a worksheet here. Let me just tell you the questions that are on the compassionate curiosity exercise. Let me just find it really fast here. Let's see. Okay, so you want to ask yourself, okay, well, what was the situation? What happened? What triggered the event? Journal about this, because a lot of times it's kind of mindless, and if it's mindless, we're not going to learn from it and we're going to repeat it. So we want to self-reflect and ask ourselves, what was the situation? What happened? What triggered the event? Secondly, ask yourself, what specific thoughts or urges preceded my decision to go off plan? How did it feel in my body before, during, and after? Did I write down my food last night? Did I implement my course correction plan? And what can I learn, and how will I approach this situation differently next time, right? So taking this experience that was, unfortunate that we went off plan, but what can we learn from it so that we don't repeat it? And so having just compassion with yourself and talking to yourself like a friend, not beating yourself up, but also curiosity. What was going on? How can I not repeat this? And then ask yourself, now, what is my very next step to immediately course correct and return to my plan? So what is the next right thing to help to break the cycle, the downward spiral? How can I interrupt that and immediately, quickly get right back on my plan? So one thing that's helped me with this is to try to never have 2 meals off plan in a row. And that, just having that rule where I try to never have 2 meals off plan in a row, it just helps it to never spiral out of control to the point where months and years later I'm still struggling. So compassionate curiosity, connection again is so important. When you do go off plan, let someone know exactly what happened. Let someone know, and get support from someone who's kind and empathetic and non-judgmental. And just have that openness about it. Addiction recovery, with any addiction, is so honesty is really the first step. And in the 12-step program, honesty is the first step. And so we need to be honest with ourselves and also be open, and so we're not falling into shame and guilt by telling someone else and connecting with someone else. And then the third step is just commitment. Again, not having 2 meals off plan in a row, committing to immediately and quickly course correct within the next 10 minutes with the next meal, but for sure by the next day. Okay, you don't want to fall into more begets more, where you get the negative momentum. We want to, just like riding a bike up a hill, if you stop or pause, it's really hard to get started again. So we want to just quickly just pause, but just get right back at it. So we don't completely stop or go backward. We want to just quickly and immediately course correct to maintain that positive momentum. So it really takes practice to course correct, and you're not going to be perfect at it at first, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have sabotaging thoughts that you may give into at times, but you're learning and you're growing. And so be really patient with yourself as you fail and make mistakes. Make failure your friend and have a course correction plan. I love the analogy of playing the piano. When you start playing the piano, you're terrible at it. You make a ton of mistakes, but that's how you learn. So to become a master, you just keep practicing, consistently practicing, and with time, you get better at it, right? You get better until you can play, a concerto. So, likewise, to win a war, you're going to have battles, and you don't win the war all at once. You have to win each battle at a time. And sometimes you lose a battle, sometimes you win a battle, but the way to win a war comes down to winning more battles than you lose. I had so many analogies, but I think it's really helpful to help us to understand course correction, because I have a client who went to a tennis match for her daughter, and she kind of had this insight that, sometimes the other team scores. Like, you have an urge to eat off plan and the other team, they score. But the way to win the match, you just have to score more times than the other team in the end. So the key to winning at sustainable weight loss is just never giving up. It's just you keep trying, and you just have to score more points than the other team. And so it's all about progress and not perfection with this journey of sustainable weight loss. And I just want you to know that I believe in you, that I hope you have an abundance of self-compassion for yourself as you're going through this learning process, and that with time you can get to that point where you are on plan all of the time. Like I said, 100% is so much easier than 98%. It is so much easier. 100% is a breeze, 98% is a beast. But we learn a lot from our mistakes, and it can help us to ultimately achieve success by gaining those insights and that wisdom. So hang in there, everybody. I believe in you, and it's so worth it to stick to your plan. I know that it's challenging at times, but draw strength from God, from your higher power. Make sure to implement these strategies for course correction, and I promise that with time you will see an extraordinary transformation with your sugar and flour-free lifestyle. This week, I'm so excited. If you haven't registered for the Success Framework Challenge, it's a free challenge that I am putting on this week, Wednesday through Saturday, September 13th through the 16th. And it's from noon to 1 p.m. Mountain Time each day. It's a live, interactive class that we are going to be going in depth with the strategies and tools and tactics that you need to be successful with a sugar and flour-free lifestyle, so you can lose weight for the last time this year. And to sign up for that, go to my website at erinharthealthcoaching.com. And I can't wait to see you there. Bye, everybody.